Welcome back to This Day. Joining me now is David Vieneman with this month's third mutual update. David, so nice to meet you. Thank you for being in. I understand you're stepping in for Jim Cook today.
I am pitch hitting for Jim today, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, always a pleasure. And so tell me, are you new to the board?
I am brand new to the board, joined in April.
Oh, wonderful.
And I think that's why I'm pitch hitting for Jim today.
They're like, we're just going to throw you in.
Yeah.
Have you done TV stuff before?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was just saying, you seem very comfortable.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, no problem, I'm an old pro. So what's your position with the board? What do you handle?
Okay, I am a director on the board, and my specialty is finance and investing.
Okay.
So my particular interest is on the treasury side of things, budgeting and investing.
Oh, good, good. That's some great background to have. I know it's very helpful. And so, and speaking of budget, that's our first slide to talk about today. So, tell us what's going on with the budget.
Okay. We are in the middle of the budget cycle right now, and the way the budget cycle works is staff will prepare a draft of the budget and bring it to us, but it's done in three parts, because we have, as you can imagine, a pretty large budget here. So once we have seen the first draft of all three parts, then we will sit down and we start doing the balancing act, or the high wire balancing act, if you will, because everybody, understandably, wants more services, but they really don't want to pay any more in HOA dues. And what we're trying to do as a board is keep the HOA dues under control, but at the same time, we don't want to starve the residents, the members, and we want to make sure that we're making the infrastructure investments that we have to make with these buildings.
Yeah.
And one aspect of budgets that I don't think people understand all that well is where exactly the money goes. And the slide has an infographic on it that basically shows where that money goes. And when we talk to people about this, sometimes they are really surprised.
Yeah.
Because the big three swallowers of our money, number one, is the reserves that legally we have to maintain. So we're required under the Davis-Sterling Act to put certain amounts in our reserves to make sure that we get fully funded over the remaining life of the buildings.
Okay.
And between the reserves and the second big one is insurance. I mean, it's skyrocketing everywhere.
Yeah, that's
so the second big one,
especially the last few years.
Yeah, especially the last couple of years. And the third one is utilities, the utilities that the mutuals pick up, including the water, the sewer, the basic cable infrastructure, and whatnot. With those top three, they account for over 50% of our budget. Okay. Just by themselves.
Yeah.
And so we've got to make sure that those get taken care of. Plus, we're looking at looking at all the other amenities that our residents depend on, and making sure that those get funded as well.
Okay. Well, sounds like it's getting under control. I know the next thing you want to talk about, there's some director vacancies coming up.
And that was the reason for the hat this morning. And like I said, I'm subbing for my friend and colleague, Jim Cook. But if you notice the hat, what it says is adelante.
Yes.
And that is Spanish for forward.
Okay.
So we're going to have a bit of a hole in our lineup come this fall. Jim Cook, Mark Laws, and Ira Lewis, they came in 3 years ago, and what they have done is just absolutely amazing. But they have all announced that they're going to be stepping down from the third mutual board in the fall. So we are actively recruiting candidates right now to step forward and run for election to the board.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. And so is that a lot for 3 to step down all the same year?
Well, it's unusual to have 3 really strong leaders step down at the same time. And they are strong leaders. They've really been the backbone of our board.
Yeah.
And so the other members of the board, like I said, we're looking for some strong people to put in the application and to run. Applications will be available next Monday, and they'll be available for a month. And a lot of reaction that I get when I'm pitching people and I'm running for the board is they'll say, oh, you know, it's a lot of work. And they're right, it is. But there are a lot of benefits to it. For me personally, I feel very lucky to live here, and being on the board, it's a way to give back.
Yeah.
It's a way to help out. And particularly for people who have retired in the last few years, you know, sometimes you retire and it's like, well, you know, I was really a part of something and now I'm sitting on my front porch. Well, the getting active in the community affairs of Laguna Woods Village is a good way to keep your hand in. And it's also a way to have a voice. You know, at our town halls, yeah, we hear a lot of people who have a lot of complaints. What we're always looking for are people who are willing to step in and give us a hand and help us make Laguna Woods an even better place to live.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So being on the board, it gives them a voice, and it also is an opportunity to help other people and organizations in Laguna Woods that might not have a voice get theirs.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Well, so moving on, you have an update about insurance.
Yeah, and this is something we've talked about before, and I'd like to talk about again because it is so important. With the cost of insurance skyrocketing, you know, we're hearing people say, well, you know, I just can't afford it. You know, I'll get contents insurance. Now, if you're a renter, contents insurance is fine. As a renter, that probably is all you need. But if you own the manor, a lot of people don't understand what happens when there's damage to a manor. For example, let's say that the pipes in the walls, which the mutual's responsible for, let's say there's a leak in those pipes. And the mutual has to come in and replace pipes. It's a quirk of condominium law that the mutual is responsible for what's behind the drywall.
Yes.
But it's the property owner, the manor owner, who's responsible for what happens in their manor, even if that leak comes from behind the walls.
Wow, okay.
So, you know, as a mutual, we'll come in, we'll fix that leak in the walls, we'll put the drywall back all nice. But if you had some cabinets in front of those, well, at a minimum, you're going to have to put the cabinets back. And if there's water damage, as a manor owner, you're going to have to take care of that water damage. And just in the last couple of weeks alone, we've had a couple of fires.
Oh, really?
In Third Mutual. There was one fellow was talking to me about it on my walk the other day, and was telling me that he had a fire that almost got out of control.
Oh, wow.
And it was as simple as he set a plastic bag up on top of his burner on his stove.
Okay.
And he didn't realize he tripped the switch when he did that.
Oh, my goodness.
And in another case like that, over off of Mariposa, we had an entire unit that got burned out. If you don't have HO6 insurance, you can't rely on the mutual to come back and fix that.
Yeah.
You know, so we are encouraging everybody, every chance we get, to talk to their insurance agent, make sure they've got a good HO6 policy, because it's not unusual for damage costs to run $20,000, $30,000 or more.
Yeah, yeah, that could be a big chunk of change that you're
Oh, yeah.
unexpected for, and that's not a good feeling
Yeah.
when you're not ready for that. So tell us about your next side, the FCC proposal.
Okay. For years, you've had what has been sort of loosely referred to as community broadband or bulk broadband, where a community like ours could buy cable services in bulk and basically save 2/3 on the normal cost of the service. So we're paying about roughly 1/3 of what our neighbors outside the village are paying for their cable TV service. And the FCC has always allowed this and has always supported it. And now, suddenly, the FCC has turned around and they've said, no, we're going to ban this bulk purchase of broadband services. And everybody's going to have to buy it individually. And if it does, our residents' costs for cable TV are likely to go up literally by 3 times.
Really? Wow.
So we're asking everybody, and the addresses are up on the slide, to sit down and write to the FCC, to the House committee that's looking at this, and to the Senate committee that's looking at this, and let them know that we can't afford this. This needs to stay in place. And we're hoping that everybody's going to do that because time's coming up on submitting those comments.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that definitely get your pen and paper out and start writing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And well, hopefully that doesn't get changed then. So up next, you have an update about the asbestos abatement process.
Yep. And there's been a lot of confusion about this, and this is a question that just comes up again and again at our town hall meetings. People don't understand the asbestos abatement process. And the short version of the story is most of these buildings were built between 1965 and 1979, where you could use asbestos in the walls and the floors, and that was acceptable by the building codes. So in our buildings, we have all kinds of asbestos, which is not harmful as long as it isn't disturbed.
Right, right.
When it becomes a problem is when we go in and we start cutting holes in the wall, or, for example, in my case, I want to replace the tub in my bathroom. So, I'm going to need to have asbestos testing done in there and may have to have asbestos abatement done.
So do you do the testing like before you start? Is that, okay.
Do the testing before you start, and that's going to tell you pretty much what kind of abatement that you're going to need to do. And it means you're going to have a professional, come in, and that's an additional expense. But to me, I'm more than willing to pay it because it's insurance against me coming down with mesothelioma because I fooled around with the asbestos in my walls.
Right.
And but what we're hearing at some of our town halls is, well, is it you, meaning the mutuals or staff, who are putting in these asbestos requirements? Is it the city of Laguna Woods, or is it the Regional Air Quality Management District? So one of the things that's in process right now, all 3 parties are getting together and we're going to clarify exactly what the rules are in terms that people can understand and who is responsible for what, where the rules are coming from. Ultimately, it's the state of California that tells us we have to be very, very careful with asbestos.
Okay. So is it that residents are just confused on, do I have to do this and am I paying for this? Is that what the question is?
Yeah, it's residents, they hear different things. You hear from your neighbor in the building. oh, well, California doesn't really require this, it's all the city. Or no, it's not the city, it's the Air Quality Management District, or it's, the mutuals. People are confused, so really what we're going to put our efforts to is communication, help people understand what the requirements are, whose requirements they are, and how to navigate through this process to make sure that you keep your home safe.
Yeah. And that's ultimately important. And I know when all of us are doing remodeling or repairs, we're like, we want to get it done. Do it now. I don't want to wait another month, 2 months, 3 months to find out if I can actually do this work.
and one of the things that I really caution people against, there are handymen out there who fashion themselves as electricians or whatever, and you don't need to do this, I can do it. When you go to resell your manor, that can end up causing huge problems. So, we encourage people, if you're going to be doing anything that involves going into the walls or the ceilings. Last year I put central air in my manor. Okay. So, we had them come in and do all the work. And, they take it very seriously. They package up all this stuff, they move out of there very, very carefully. And it goes to a special landfill. Ours went over to Arizona, where it can be safely disposed of.
Okay.
Because asbestos, horribly dangerous.
Okay, wow. All right, well, and then next you have an update about the community tour experience. What's happening with this?
Yeah, that's something that I don't know that people really know about yet. We have for years, we did what we call docent tours. Mm-hmm. And if you were thinking about moving into Laguna Woods, then, you'd come down here, make a reservation for a docent tour. We'd take you all the way around to all the clubhouses, show all the facilities and all the amenities. And not everybody was happy with that, because we had people on the East Coast who said, well, I'm thinking about moving out there. Are you telling me I got to fly out just to see the place?
Okay.
So we put together what amounts to a docent tour, and it actually goes to more places than the bus tour used to go. Okay. And where you can find it, I think we have a slide on that, is there it is. If you go to the Laguna Woods homepage, on the home page below the slogan, where new adventures begin, you'll see community tour experience. It's about a 20-minute video, and it takes you everywhere that the bus tour used to take you. And I know, because when I first moved in, I took the bus tour.
Okay. Oh, awesome. That's wonderful. So I know this had been being worked on for a while. So this is now up and running and on the website.
It is up and running, and it is great. If you have any friends back east who say, well, what's the place like? Send them to this site. They can see what we're doing.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell us, you now are looking for VMS representatives. So this is different than the board.
Yeah.
But you can't be a board member to be to be a third mutual representative on VMS.
Exactly. And a lot of people, they don't really understand how we're organized here, because the manor owners, what they see are the mutuals, third or united. And we're actually 4 related organizations. You have the 2 mutuals, Third Mutual, United Mutual, and then you have GRF. And the reason that we have them split out like that, United has our co-op manors, and Third Mutual has our condominium manors, and then GRF holds the clubhouses and the golf course and all the common property we use that's not exclusive to one mutual or the other. And then we have our colleagues in our 4th organization, Village Management Services. And that's what everybody thinks of as resident services, but it's a lot more. They maintain the landscaping, they maintain the buildings. And the way these organizations are set up, the directors of VMS are nominated by the mutuals and by GRF.
Okay.
So we had 2 interim vacancies. One of our appointees moved, and another one of our appointees had to step down. So this coming Thursday, we'll be voting on 2 new directors to fill those interim positions.
Oh, that's awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So 2 new members. So they've already put in their applications and everything. And okay, so now the GRF and Third and United vote on it.
And actually, they've put in their applications, and they are essentially nominees to the board, appointees to the board. So we'll be voting on them Friday, and they'll take office as directors of VMS immediately.
Oh, wow.
As part of our delegation to the VMS board.
Okay.
But as you mentioned, we have to keep the boards independent of each other, so we just can't send a sitting board member up to VMS.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Got to keep it fair.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, David, for coming on and giving us the Third Mutual update. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere, because we have more of This Day coming up right after this. We'll be right back.